200,715,528. No, that's not the number of tears shed by Old Firm fans after their humpings in Europe last week. It's the transfer fee in pounds spent by PSG for the signing of Neymar Jr. in 2017, the current record transfer in world football. With today being transfer deadline day, I thought it'd be fun to see how Scottish clubs compare. Starting off alphabetically with Aberdeen, we have midfielder Paul Bernard, who was signed from Oldham Athletic in 1995 for a whopping £1 million. That's worth about £2.5 million in today's money. What were Aberdeen doing throwing that kind of money around in the 90s? In doing so, they became the only Scottish club out with the Old Firm to pay £1 million plus for a player, until this year when Hibs followed suit. More on that later. Paul Bernard was a Scottish midfielder, mostly known at the time for helping Oldham secure the return to the top flight of English football by scoring in the title decider against Sheffield Wednesday. Paul didn't quite have as many memorable moments at the Dons, being more known as the £1 million flop. He did secure some silverware in his first season however, lifting the League Cup after a 2-0 win over Dundee. That was as good as it got for Bernard though, as he was released from his contract in October of 2000. Next up we have Celtic and current player Arne Engels, who they signed from Augsburg for around £11 million last year. The Belgian had a pretty prolific first season with the club, netting 10 times from 52 appearances, but he's found game time a little harder to come by this campaign. Just the 2 starts from 6 games and no goals yet to his name. Maybe he could use his time at the team to teach some of his colleagues how to hit a penalty. Next up is Dundee, and their signing of Fabian Caballero, nicknamed FabCab, for £600,000 in 2000. The Argentine Paraguayan was a bit of a cult hero at Dens, playing during a time when he had a number of South Americans in the team, and were throwing cash left, right and centre. Sadly that came back to bite them in the arse with administration hit, leading to relegation to the second tier and FabCab's release. The silky forward returned to Dens on 2 occasions after retirement to play in testimonial matches for Julian Speroni and Cami Kerr, before sadly passing away last year while playing futsal in Paraguay at the young age of 46. Next up is Dundee United and their signing of current Dundee manager Stephen Pressley in 1995. Yes, you heard that right. The Tangerines spent around £750,000 on a defender from Coventry City, with him going on to play over 100 games for the club over 3 years. Elvis left the building at the end of his contract to go play for Hearts, before retiring from playing in 2009 while at Falkirk. And the rest, as they say, is history. Next up we've got Falkirk, and they're signing a frequent open goal guest, Derek Ferguson, who joined from Sunderland for a reported £300,000 in 1995. What is it with these Scottish clubs spending so much money in 1995? Was there some sort of luxurious TV deal I'm not aware of? Let me know in the comments if you're any the wiser. Derek didn't have the greatest of spells at Falkirk, featuring a measly 40 times over the course of 3 seasons. Not too great for a record transfer fee. Speaking of record transfer fees in Falkirk, did you know that they actually once broke the world transfer record, signing Sid Puddifoot in February of 1922 for an incredible, mind-boggling £5,000. To be fair, in today's money that's around 360k, so not quite as small as first imagined. Next up is Hearts, and their signing of Mirsad Beslija for £850,000 from Genk. No surprise whatsoever that this signing happened in 2006, right at the beginning of the Romanov era. That was a crazy time in Scottish football. Hearts actually tried to get out of paying the full fee for Mirsad, leading the Belgian side to threaten to take the case to FIFA. Tynecastle Club even attempted to send Beslija back to Genk 6 months into his deal, but the Belgians didn't want him either. If that doesn't tell you how shite this guy was, nothing will. 13 appearances later and he was released from the club, costing them over £65,000 per match. Yikes. Oh, for fuck's sake, Hearts. 20 minutes after I've done recording, and the video's already out of date. Staying in Edinburgh, we've got Hibs, and they're signing of Thibault Clichy this summer for over £1 million, becoming just the second Scottish team out with the Old Firm to pay over £1 million for a player, after the aforementioned Paul Bernard to Aberdeen in 1995. Clichy hasn't had the best start to his Hibs career, struggling to get in the team over the talented Keen Bowie. He did score his first goal for the club in the League Cup win over Livy though. He'll be hoping to get a few more of those before the season's over. Next up we've got Kilmarnock, and they're signing a striker Paul Wright in 1995 for around £340,000. F***ing hell, 1995 again? This is getting a bit creepy now. Kelly signed Wright from St Johnstone, where he was also their club record transfer at the time. Oh god, the name Wright going from St Johnstone to Kelly is giving me horrible flashbacks. The striker had a really good spell at Saints to be honest, so I'm quite surprised they let him go. Kelly were the beneficiaries though, and Paul had an equally impressive stint there. 70 goals in just over 200 appearances is a really good return for any striker in Scotland, but it was one goal that earned Kilmarnock back every penny spent on him. The winner in the Scottish Cup final in 1997 against Falkirk. A moment Kelly fans will never forget. Next up we have Livingston, And this one's a bit controversial, because nobody really seems to know who their club record signing actually is. As Davy Martindale harped on about time and time again a couple of seasons ago, Livy don't exactly have loads of money lying around, and their 2 spells in administration are great examples of that. If we look at transfer market, they tell us that Michael Hart from Aberdeen in 2001 is the record. The transfer market are just as bad as Sky Sports for their knowledge on Scottish football. They think Celtic spent 60 million quid on Jota for fuck's sake. Even Sky Sports managed to get that one right. Another Livy fan speculated that Wes Hoolahan is their club record transfer for just over 100k back in 2006. And I also seem to recall they spent some money on goalkeeper Shamal George a few years back. If you know anything more on Livy's transfer records, let me know in the comments below. Next up we've got Motherwell, and Scottish forward John Spencer, who joined from Everton in 1989 for around £600,000. John had a pretty impressive career up to that point, playing over 100 times for Chelsea, but he didn't quite live up to the hype at Fir Park. His stats at Motherwell are nothing to complain about, to be fair, scoring 21 times in 74 appearances, but the transfer figure loomed over his head for quite a while, with many fans expecting more bang for their buck. Amazingly, John once scored 3 goals in a rollercoaster match against Aberdeen, but still lost the game. This earned him the title of being the first and only player to score a hat-trick but still end up on the losing side, until 2022 however, when Lawrence Shanklin joined the party in a 4-3 loss against Celtic. That's one record I'm sure John is pretty happy to lose. On to our penultimate club now, we have Rangers, and their signing of striker Torrey Andre Flo in 2000 for a whopping 12 million quid. Not only is Torrey Rangers' most expensive signing, he's also the most expensive signing ever made by a Scottish club, and this was 25 years ago. Unsurprisingly, a lot was expected of Flo, and he hit the ground running, scoring on his debut in a 5-1 win over rivals Celtic. Torrey was only at Rangers for 2 seasons, but his goal record was quite remarkable. 38 goals and 71 appearances is something that most strikers could only dream of, and he left with some silverware too, winning a cup double in his 2nd season. Sadly for Flo, none of the 2 trophies were league titles, something that a lot of Rangers fans still hold against him. To be fair to them, when you're spending £12 million on a single player in Scotland, you expect him to help win you the title, not end up 18 points behind. Last but not least, we have St Mirren, in their signing of Thomas Stickroth in 1990 for a reported £400,000. Unsurprisingly, with it being 35 years ago, there isn't too much information out there about Stickroth's time in Scotland, but this article in the Herald captures the type of player he was perfectly. It describes the first goal of a tremendous 3-0 win for St Mirren over Celtic at Parkhead. The galloping Thomas Stickroth runs down the wing, does a beautiful bit of skill to beat his man, and puts the ball on the plate for a striker in the box. Stickroth and his Icelandic goal-scoring teammate are described as being like 2 members of Ocean's 11 in the St Mirren squad. Thomas may have only spent 2 years in Paisley, but if that's the kind of impression he was given, it's no wonder they spent so much money on him. That's it for this video. Thanks to anyone that made it this far. If you enjoyed, feel free to drop a like and leave a comment, maybe even subscribe. Click here to continue watching more of my content. Thank you.